Most of us in Big 12 country have been reveling in the fact that the Big 12 is safe. By gosh, we are safe. Our teams aren't going anywhere. The ACC's on thin ice. We're not. Hooray, we're great. Well, maybe that's not true. And there is it possible that the Big 12 is still not safe? That's the discussion in today's episode. And we're going to have that conversation right after this word from the fine folks over at Dutch Miller Automotive. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time. With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing and ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for. Check out our inventory across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com or come in today to the home of friends and family pricing, only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you. What is up? Welcome in to another episode of Couz's Corner. Come on in and make yourself comfortable. Belly yourself up to the bar and let me pour you out this shot of top shelf college football content. On tap at Couz's Corner today, we're having a conversation about the Big 12 and whether or not they are actually safe from losing members to other leagues. And today we're even talking about the possibility of losing teams to the ACC. Now, a lot of the argument is, hey, the SEC and Big Ten isn't going to want any of the Big 12 schools. Well, we've heard rumblings that Kansas could potentially be a target of the SEC down the road. We've heard that. I did a video on it. I'll leave a link to it at the end. There are small murmurs out there. I'll call them murmurs. I don't even want to call them rumblings, but there are small murmurs out there that West Virginia could be a potential SEC member. I'm not sure I'm ready to believe that yet. I'm holding out hope. Got my fingers crossed and my toes if I can cross them, but I'm not counting on it. I just don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately. Now it might. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think West Virginia's best shot is for the Big 12 to remain a viable power conference and for them to just maximize revenue the best they can. That's what I think is the best scenario for West Virginia today, and most likely scenario. And then there's also a scenario that teams like a West Virginia, like a UCF, Utah, which was rumored a week ago. I did a video on that too. I'll leave a link to that one in the description as a pinned comment. But we all remember the rumor that that Utah had interest in the ACC. Now, I did a video saying that I thought that was hogwash. It doesn't make any sense. The Big 12 is more stable right now, which they are. I think that's accurate. But I do think in the future, there's a scenario where teams could potentially leave the Big 12 for the ACC. Now, let me lay it out for you. And here's why I think that. I was watching College Football Addiction with friend of the show, TJ Pittenger. And he's been all over this. He's a Florida State guy. He's been all over the Florida State stuff. He's been all over the realignment stuff. Claims to have sources that are feeding him some information. Some of it's wrong, but according to him, he's been more right than wrong. And I'll be honest, I haven't followed TJ long enough to know how accurate his record is. Just to be straight up honest, he's a super nice guy. I've had him on my show. He's a great YouTube creator. But I'm not going to sit here and say how accurate he's been because I honestly don't know. But he had some interesting things to say in an episode I watched yesterday. According to TJ, the ACC could actually be safe, and here's why. He says that Florida State and Clemson are out. They're leaving, right? That's going to happen eventually. He thinks there's eventually going to be a settlement between those two universities and the ACC. But he thinks the ACC is in the process of redoing their media deal with ESPN. Now, we heard Jim Phillips back at Amelia Island when they were having ACC spring meetings. We saw reports that Jim Phillips mentioned a look-in clause that he's in the process of talking with ESPN on. Well, according to TJ, part of this renegotiation or whatever is unequal revenue sharing in the league, and that basically, in a nutshell, the ACC is going to pay their bigger brands more money than their lower brands in order to try to save the conference. So Even after Clemson and Florida State leave, schools like North Carolina, schools like Miami, for example, would make more money than probably schools like, I don't know, Boston College, Wake Forest, and some others. And I don't mean to throw shade at those schools, but it's just the truth. They're not as valuable from a football and sports brand perspective. They don't bring as many eyeballs to the TV screens. They don't generate as much revenue. That's the purpose of the thing. It's all about branding right now. And that's the name of the game. And UNC and Miami are just more valuable brands. But because of that, does that open up the door for the ACC to bring in other brands that they perceive, or that ESPN would be more accurate, that ESPN perceives as being valuable enough, like a Utah, for example? Now, look, I know I did a video saying Utah's not going to the ACC, and I still don't think they are. But if what TJ is saying is accurate, and they do get this new revenue sharing model, a school like Utah could be very valuable to the ACC. It gets them into a new market in Salt Lake City, a growing market. Utah's been a very successful brand in football. Their basketball is okay. It's decent. But football, we all know, is the moneymaker. And if they lose Florida State and Clemson, they have got to strengthen. If they do add any teams, they've got to strengthen their football. And they've got to strengthen their league in other ways. Adding Utah would do that. It would also give them another team in the western part of the United States. It would give them a team in the Mountain Time Zone, which I don't think they have right now. They've got a team in the Central Time Zone in SMU, and they're going to have two teams in the Pacific Time Zone with Stanford and Cal. This would give them a team in the Mountain Time Zone. Maybe they even throw an Arizona or an Arizona State in the mix with them. Maybe even a West Virginia. Now, the ACC has turned West Virginia down multiple times in the past because of their quote-unquote academics. And that's probably true. But I think we're in a day and time now where academics, to a degree at least, has to be thrown out the window because it's all about branding. And West Virginia has a strong brand, especially in the eastern part of the United States. And especially if you put them in a league with Pitt and you have the backyard brawl in the ACC, that would be very valuable to ESPN, I would think. Maybe they even go, and if Virginia Tech's still in the league, if they don't leave and go to the SEC or somewhere, that's a very strong rivalry between West Virginia and Virginia. You have built-in rivalry games already there for West Virginia if you go bring them in. We've heard ESPN's executives say in interviews, we want rivalries. That's what we want. Right now, there's none of that for West Virginia in the Big 12. Not saying they're leaving the Big 12. Not saying they even want to. But I'm saying in the future, if this revenue-sharing plan that TJ mentions is correct, and he's accurate on this, and it ends up coming to fruition, could West Virginia potentially finally get into the league they wanted to be in years ago, the ACC? Now, I'm not sure if that would be a wise move, even then, because now, yes, they would save a lot of money in travel. They would have their rivalries built in, and it would be exciting for us fans to have a lot of those rivalries back. We could get our rivalry with Syracuse back. The Schwartzwalder, I think it's called the Schwartzwalder Trophy. We could get that game back. We could get the Black Diamond Trophy game back. We could get the Backyard Brawl in conference. We could have Louisville potentially back in the same conference again. It'd be exciting. But looking at it financially, would that stabilize the ACC? Because then you might have your schools like the Boston Colleges and the Wake Forest and others. They might not like this too much, and they might vote against it, or they could leave potentially. Now, I don't know where they would go. They would probably have to take a step down to a group of 5 or something. And I don't think they would do that. But my point is, I'm still not 100% convinced that the league would be stable enough for West Virginia to make that move. Could they? Yes. Would the ACC potentially be more open to adding a team like West Virginia despite their academic ratings? I think so, because I think they would need to try to backfill. I know they preemptively backfilled with Stanford and Cal, but they may need to do even more if they lose Clemson and Florida State, and especially if they lose UVA and UNC as well. If they do that, if they lose all 4 of those schools, they're definitely going to have to backfill. Now, if that happens, I think going to the ACC would be a terrible decision for West Virginia, because then they would not only be losing their top 2 brands, but their top 3 of their top 4, and plus a school in the state of Virginia which is a very strong market. So let me know what you think. Do you think this revenue sharing model that TJ Pittenger mentioned in his video makes sense? And do you think the ACC may go that route? And if they do you think Utah and or West Virginia or even other Big 12 schools could potentially leave for the ACC? And on top of that, do you see any schools in the Big 12 potentially leaving to go to the Power 2? I want to hear your thoughts on that as well. Shout out to my VIP channel members of the day. Oaksters Live, Chris D, Outlaw of College Football, who, oh, by the way, has a great YouTube channel of his own. Go check it out. And David Cummings. Thank you all for joining and being members of Couz's Corner, paid VIP member club. There are 2 levels you can join. You can hit the join button below on your device or go to my channel homepage and join there. The join button will be beside my profile photo. Choose which level you want to be in. It'll show you what perks are available. Bada bing, bada boom, join, and you're in. Also, you can hit the heart thanks button below, make a one-time donation along with a comment that it highlights in my comment section. There are other ways you can support me in the description box of this video. Fanatics link, ONIT Athlete Trading Cards link. And another way you can help me out, WV Sports coverage at Couz'sCorner.com. Go check out the articles over there. It's another way you can help me out. Also, the thumbs up button below, hit that. That likes the video. It helps the YouTube algorithm, helps push my content out to more people. The comment helps. Subscribing to my channel, guys. I am on my way to 10K, but I've got to have your help to get there. And it's a slow process getting to 10,000 subscribers. I'm about 26 to 2,700 away. I need your help to get there. Please subscribe if you haven't, and please get your friends who like college football, especially if they like West Virginia or conference realignment or the Big 12. I cover that too on here. Please get them to subscribe to the channel. Check out the video I mentioned where I talk about Utah. You can check it out right here. Thank you for tuning into this episode. Have a top shelf day and cue country roads.